A city evolves. Ancient Babylon, ancient Rome, 18th century London. Urban civilization is evolving.
Finally from us today, inside the smart home of the future, which merges a dizzying array of wireless technology to produce something called ubiquitous living.
The year is 2017. You're rushed to a hospital unconscious with no ID or medical history, but thanks to a microchip under your skin, it's all there. Science fiction 20 years ago, but a biometric reality today.
Well, here I am at the meat counter. This is what the shop likes to call its intelligent freezer. Why do they think it's so clever? Well, all the packets of meat here contain a microchip.
This is really what I mean by a transformation of the relationship between user and device. This person is not a user anymore in any real sense of the English word. They are a subject. In an everywhere world, too, you see that there are many devices, systems, and services that impinge on each user and also on each other. So, just by walking down the street, you could be subject to a personal biometric system. You could be scanned by the gateway of the transit system. There could be something embedded in the street or in the flooring beneath you. You could be touching other haptic interfaces, tangible interfaces in the environment around you. The lampposts and the other features of the streetscape could have informational services appended to them. And last but not least, there is this surveillance element. There is a UAV here, a robotic helicopter, which is also surveying the cityscape and communicating with all of those devices.
It may seem like a vision of a distant science fiction world, but this scenario could be just around the corner. In fact, at this very moment in South Korea, an entire city, a U-city, is being built that utilizes ubiquitous technology. It had its first test run in March of last year. Several other countries are currently planning projects modeled around this futuristic city model. An everywhere world, as Adam Greenfield calls it, is a world in which computers are embedded and merged seamlessly everywhere in the environment. Radio frequency identification tags communicate their position and other information constantly in a vast wireless network. Everyday objects become searchable as if they were part of an interconnected World Wide Web. In this Internet of Things, scientific management and surveillance of people and the environment we inhabit becomes possible, and marketers' ultimate dreams come true.
A road diverges in the desert. Nexus. The road you're on, John Anderton, is the one less traveled. Make sure you are on dice.
Good evening. You can move the old-fashioned John Anderton lifestyles provides gourmet cuisine. John Anderton, you can use a Guinness right about now.
As computer chips become smaller and their processing power increases exponentially, ubiquitous computing has become a practical reality. As reported by Wired News, ubiquitous systems are to be rolled out in New York City in 2009. The Architectural League of New York will commission 5 to 7 teams to develop urban interventions to be installed in and around New York City in spring 2009 that will imagine alternative trajectories for how various mobile, embedded, networks, and distributed forms of media, information and communication systems might inform the architecture of urban space and/or influence our behavior within it. Consumer convenience is a central selling point for ubiquitous computing, particularly smart home applications of this technology.
Finally from us today, inside the smart home of the future, which merges a dizzying array of wireless technology to produce something called ubiquitous living, where access to the web is available anywhere, anytime. In Seoul, South Korea, our Jo-hee Cho visited the U-Home.
Not too far off in the future, perhaps within several years, your home, your kitchen, your living room, your bathroom will be interactive. A screen in your kitchen will show a list of packages that arrived while you were out. Your refrigerator will recognize what you put in it and keep track of how much of it is left. It will even recommend recipes.
Today's recommended dish is kalguksu.
If you're a bad cook, just follow instructions.
Boiling the red.
The dining room table will know you as well. So this is the art of customized user recognition. The table will basically go up and down depending on my height. In the living room, the TV screen is not only a movie theater, but also a tracking system of where family members are. Take the picture frames and Xboxes away. Everything is integrated into this e-table. From games to children's books, this table can load a good-sized digital library. Choose your interior depending on the day's mood, or just add your TV onto the wall. So the secret lies in this little sticker. This is called an RFID chip. It can be put on me or on my mobile phone, and it basically recognizes my preferences, what kind of books I like to read, what kind of music I like to listen to, my whole medical history. This is basically who I am. And whether this is a good thing or not, we are at the footsteps of a whole new generation of future lifestyles.
The well-established consumer base for mobile devices was discussed at the March 2008 International Conference on the Internet of Things in Zurich, Switzerland, as serving as a means of acclimating individuals to the presence and use of ubiquitous technology. Possible marketing plans were discussed to introduce self-scanning through the use of mobile devices to scan physical products in a manner similar to Internet shopping. Andreas Scheller, a senior engineer for Motorola, presented information to the Zurich conference. The next step is to internetable physical objects, connecting people with things and even things with things. The Internet of Things will enable connectivity not just between people and their computing devices, but between actual, everyday things. By enabling connectivity for virtually any physical object that can potentially offer a message, the Internet of Things will affect every aspect of life and business in ways that used to be the realm of fantasy, or even beyond fantasy. To ensure a fast adoption rate, it is necessary to start with low-hanging fruit technologies like barcode scanning by camera, which will become a free feature for mobile devices morphing into high-end camera phones. This strategy appears to be already in action in Germany, where an entire shopping mall has been designed to allow for product scanning by cell phone. RFID tags are also being used.
This is no ordinary supermarket. It's the Future Store, one of the most high-tech hypermarkets in the world. Here the Germans are busy transforming the way we do our shopping, and one of the biggest innovations of all concerns something as small as a cell phone. The idea is very simple. Most people take their mobiles with them when they go to the shops, so why not make your phone help you with your shopping? That's why the stores developed some free software that will turn your telephone into a mobile shopping assistant. Now I can use the camera on my phone to scan the barcodes of all the things I want to buy. So off we go. Some washing powder, some mineral water, and something for the kids. Now by scanning all the barcodes myself, I'm actually saving myself a lot of time when it comes to paying for all of this. But I haven't finished my shopping yet. Let me show you some more in-store innovations over here. Okay, well here I am at the meat counter. This is what the shop likes to call its intelligent freezer. Why do they think it's so clever? Well, all the packets of meat here contain a microchip. There's one. And that means that when I take this packet out to have for my dinner, the shop knows that one packet has been taken and it knows exactly how many packets are left. And look what you can do with this chip card at the futuristic wine department. You just insert it here, and then you can treat yourself to a little automated wine tasting.
Heute bietet Real vorgefertigte Mahlzeiten aus frischen Zutaten an. Überzeugen Sie sich selbst.
By the way, this is Roger, the hypermarket's resident robot, who sort of wanders around the place telling people about all the innovations here. Okay, shopping's all done. Now it's time to pay. Now here in the Future Store, there are some more traditional cash tills. You can probably see them behind me there. But because I've already scanned all my shopping into my mobile phone, I don't have to use those. All I have to do is to tell my telephone that I've finished my shopping by pressing one button. It then produces one barcode for all the items in my trolley. Now for the final step. I put the barcode into the barcode reader, like that. It tells me how much I have to pay. And there are lots of different ways of paying. You can pay with cash or credit cards, even using your fingerprint here. And coming soon, customers will even be able to use radio waves to pay with their mobile phones.
So far, we've seen examples of the consumer layer of ubiquitous computing, which will likely be its most emphasized aspect. On top of this layer sits the incredible surveillance capability of this technology. Video surveillance cameras are an obvious indicator that you are being watched, but the Internet of Things automated surveillance and tracking grid is merged seamlessly and invisibly throughout the entire environment. In the Internet of Things, every object, as well as people who are wearing RFID tagged clothes or are using wireless electronic devices, will be readable by a computer or wireless network. The objects or person's details, exact location, and other information can be obtained electronically by invisible sensors in sidewalks, roads, or doorways. This convergence of the digital and physical worlds opens a doorway to a whole new kind of surveillance that may give rise to what some call a synchronic society. Dr. Kingsley Dennis, a research associate for the Center for Mobilities Research at Lancaster University, describes a synchronic society in this way. The development of increasingly sentient smart environments will go some way towards creating a more systemic relationship of interconnections and interdependencies between humans, objects, machines, and locality. Here, the emphasis is on an embedded sensory world that will influence and fundamentally alter social practices. Such a cyber-nomadic landscape has been defined by three primary forces of physical-digital fusion: the augmented self and digitally catalyzed masses. Ultimately, Dennis sees this technology creating a heavily surveilled population inside a global information gridlock that will be nearly impossible to escape. Increasingly, relationships between humans, devices, environments are being merged or steered towards a new construction of social life, one that embeds the individual as a digitally rendered identity within a global information gridlock. If such an irreversible shift is made towards digitally rendered societies, this would arguably lock in a form of monitored, controlled society. With such predictions of an increasingly censored and enmeshed global system, it is difficult to see how living off the net will be a choice in the near future.
Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? There's actual discussion about that. You will rule on that, mark my words, before your tenure is over. Can brain scans be used to determine whether a person is inclined toward criminality or violent behavior? You will rule on that.
Major computer companies and corporations have foreseen the rising trend of ubiquitous computing for many years. Intel's president, Paul Artellini, announced recently that the next 4 decades would be about ubiquitous computing, encompassing every aspect of daily life. In a February 2000 document from Hewlett-Packard's Internet and Mobile Systems Laboratory, we find that Packard wants to make people, places, and things web-present. The document details the infrastructure of the Internet of Things. Our goal is a bridge between the World Wide Web and the physical world we inhabit. It also includes the ability to provide people, places, and things, electronic or otherwise, with a web resource that is used to store information about them, and which is automatically correlated with their physical presence.
A city evolves. Ancient Babylon. Ancient Rome. 18th century London. Urban civilization is evolving. The city of the future that combines high-tech IT infrastructure and information services in the city space. Hwaseong Dongtan-yu City. A place where lifestyle of the future becomes a reality. At Hwaseong Dongtan-yu City, your dreams become a reality.
Right now, an entire city, New Songdo, is being built in South Korea that fully utilizes ubiquitous technology. Ubiquitous computing proponents in the United States admit that while a large portion of the technology is being developed in the United States, it is being tested in South Korea where there are less traditional, ethical, and social blockades to prevent its acceptance and use. The New York Times quotes a consultant for the U-City's construction. Much of this technology was developed in U.S. research labs, but there are fewer social and regulatory obstacles to implementing them in Korea. There is an historical expectation of less privacy. Korea is willing to put off the hard questions to take the early lead and set standards. What will happen to traditional notions of privacy in an everywhere world? Will it be utopia or a nightmarish panopticon? Could individuals and dissidents be electronically blacklisted and denied access to cashless payment systems and transit systems as if they were a banned webpage in the Internet of Things? It remains to be seen whether the ubiquitous computing infrastructure can be fully realized, but it is a technological trend with vast ramifications that is worth keeping an eye on.
There's no way to detect an RFID chip if you don't know the protocol that it's operating at. You can't get it to talk to you. So here's a guy with a laboratory, with all the equipment, with every reader device under the sun, who actually owns Mu chips. He actually says, oh, I've got a ton of Mu chips of my own, but they could program the Mu chip in such a way that it wouldn't talk to me. It wouldn't respond to my reader. So literally, here's through a translator, this Japanese engineer and I are trying to cook up our own way for him to be able to determine whether the, brand new yen notes that the high denomination yen notes that they just released, brand new, never before seen, just like we've kind of been switching over our currency, they switched over their high denomination currency just recently, like within the last couple of months. How would you be able to find out if it's in there or not? And what we finally settled on is you would have to get an electron scanning microscope and literally take it apart in order to find it. You'd have to visually see it. You could not do it using laboratory equipment. So now, that being said, let me get back to the exploding $20 bill issue. So the question was, would it be possible to put one of these in $20 bills? Well, would it be possible? Absolutely. Would it be wise? Would it be a good investment for the government? Probably not. Not in 20s, maybe in hundreds down the road when it gets cheaper. But I would say probably not a good investment. So most of us in the RFID, sort of the community that follows RFID, were saying it doesn't seem likely to us. But there was still this issue of the eye turning black. And finally what somebody did was they took a stack of paper, just plain white photocopy paper, cut it into the shape of $20 bills, put a stack of that into the microwave, and it turned black at about the same point. And what we realized was it was just the convergence of the heat, because eventually if you put paper in the microwave it will burn. And it was simply, that was where the heat was concentrating. What I found much more interesting about that discussion, though, was not whether or not there's a tag in the $20 bill. But to me, the interesting part was that we'd have to ask the question. The fact that we, in our country, would have so little confidence that our government would tell us whether it was putting tracking devices in cash to remove its anonymity, I think speaks to a much greater issue than whether or not your particular $20 bill is being tracked when it comes out of the ATM machine. And that's really been sort of the crux of my crusade for the last 2 years, is to say, why is it that this technology is out here and so few of us know it exists? And even those of us who know it exists really don't know where it is and have no way of finding out where it is. And even the citizens of the EU, when they go and ask their own government, their own representative elective government whose salaries they pay, are you tagging our currency? The answer they get is, well, we won't discuss that with you. So I have sort of a sinking feeling that unless we begin to demand more openness and more disclosure from our government on where this technology is, that we will have lots of radio debates like the one I was involved in, and lots of things flurrying around the internet, and lots of rumors flying, until we can actually feel like we have some accountability as to where this technology is appearing. All right. The plan for RFID ultimately is to use it to replace the barcode. Now, the barcode has been around since the 1970s. I don't know if people remember, but there was quite a bit of controversy over the introduction of the barcode in the 1970s, and I've been doing a little bit of research sort of looking back at that controversy. It's actually quite fascinating from a sociological standpoint, because many of the things that people feared would happen, that they got over those fears and they didn't happen, they're all happening now. One of the fears that people had in the 1970s over the barcode was that, well, if you have this barcode thing that human beings can't read, you know, we look at a barcode, we don't know what it says, we don't know how much the price tag is, then you're going to be tempted to not put a price tag on the item. And if you're tempted to not put a price tag on the item, your next temptation is going to be to not put a price tag on the shelf. And then basically we're going to be at your mercy buying items off the shelf, and you can just ring it up at whatever price, and we won't know how much we're paying for things. Well, sure enough, that's exactly what's happening. I was just at, I spent a lot of my time lately in airports, and I was just at an airport, you know, the little news shop in the airport, and literally half the items in that store had no price tag anywhere on them and had no price tag on the shelf. And of course, they don't need that. They don't need to know what the price is. You need to know that as the consumer. So a lot of those fears, which initially people said were unfounded, have actually begun happening. So one of the things that I ask myself is, you know, we were given many assurances, the barcode will always have a price tag on there, don't you worry, you know, we'll put up laws to say that you have to put these price tags on the shelf. And yet we're seeing that, you know, you let a generation go by, you let 20, 30 years go by, people kind of forget the original controversy, and we sort of accept the status quo. It's very interesting the promises being made with regards to RFID right now as a replacement for the barcode. But before I get into that, let me tell you why it's important that RFID would replace the barcode. It was introduced in the 1970s, and there was very kind of slow adoption. People were kind of slow in the uptake picking up the barcode until one company came along in the 1980s, in fact 1984 rather prophetically, Walmart, which at that time was the 400-pound gorilla as opposed to the 800-pound gorilla it now is, but it was still a big company. Walmart issued a mandate to its suppliers and said, if you want to sell products to us here at Walmart, from henceforward, from this moment on, you will put a barcode on it, or we'll simply stop carrying your products and we'll buy your competitors' products. And I'm sure they'll be happy to put a barcode on there. And almost single-handedly and almost overnight, Walmart drove the adoption of the barcode, to the point where now, you know, it's hard to find anything that doesn't have a barcode on it. In fact, even patient wristbands now have barcodes on them, and blood samples in hospitals now have barcodes, and you know, little ankle bracelets on babies now have barcodes. So we've really kind of gone way to the extreme of using barcodes on lots of things. Well, since I last addressed this audience in this room, Walmart issued a new mandate, and its new mandate is you will verily use RFID. And if you don't, we won't carry your products. So they did that last summer. They told their 100 top suppliers, these are the companies that buy products in every single one of our homes, of that I'm virtually certain, unless you live in a tent. They told those top suppliers that they will begin using RFID on crates and pallets. This is the shipping containers that are lifted up on forklifts. That wooden thing that the forklift lifts is called a pallet. The crates are, sometimes they take saran wrap and they wrap it around all the products. They have to slap an RFID tag onto those crates and pallets as they're being delivered into Walmart warehouses. Now, this is a little different from using it to replace the barcode on individual items. We believe that's coming, and Walmart believes that's coming as well. We'll get to that in a second. But issuing the mandate on crates and pallets had a massive impact on this industry from the last time I was here. The last time I was here, I was concerned because there was a lot of talk about using RFID in a lot of very disturbing ways. This year, there's a lot of action on RFID. And by action, if you go on Google and you type in RFID now, you'll get over 4 million search hits. If you go through the get-rich-quick investment schemes, you will see that people are saying RFID is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Invest in this technology and you'll be rich because everybody's signing up for it. You will see that entire factories and production facilities have been springing up around the world to produce massive numbers of these chips and antenna combinations. You will see that many retailers trying to keep up with Walmart, which is now the biggest retailer not only in the U.S. but on the globe, that retailers such as Albertsons and Best Buy and Target and retailers overseas and in Europe such as Tesco and Metro, which we'll also be talking about, that they are all getting on board with RFID, and many of them have issued their own mandates to their suppliers saying, well, if you want to sell to us, then we also are going to insist on having RFID. So what you have is a whole bunch of sort of middle manager logistics guys whose job it is to move things around backroom warehouses. You have those guys now attending lots of seminars. You have those guys buying lots of equipment. You have those guys signing consulting contracts with companies that can come in and teach them how to use this technology. And you have a massive, enormous investment in RFID happening in that kind of like, I mean, when was the last time you read like a logistics supply side journal? I mean, it's just not something that average people hear about. But if you know anybody who works in retail on the logistics or the executive side and you ask them about RFID, they'll immediately say, oh yeah, oh we're on board with that, oh sure, we're not behind the times, we're up with that, yeah. And you know, I mean, we're talking everybody from book publishers to consumer product goods manufacturers, clothing manufacturers, food manufacturers across the board. So while we, the public, the citizens, the consumer citizens who don't work in supply-side technology, while we kind of blithely think, well, I haven't seen it in my own home yet, maybe it's kind of quietly gone away, multi-millions of dollars of investment are happening behind the scenes. Now, the plan down the road, once we get past the crate and pallet shipping tagging, is to migrate to what's called EPC. And what you see here is an EPC code. Now, let me a lot of acronyms, RFID, EPC. Let me see if I can make this easy. Currently, the barcode is the UPC. Stands for Universal Product Code. The UPC is going to be replaced, if they have their way, with the EPC, which is the Electronic Product Code. Here's a string of it. It starts off with a couple of pieces of information. The first field is just a technical issue that tells you which version of EPC you're looking at. The second field tells you the manufacturer. The third field tells you the product. And then that fourth field towards the end, that serial number, tells you a unique ID number. And it's kind of probably the best way to think about that serial number is like a social security number. There's only one social security number that corresponds to you, and there will only be one serial number corresponding to an individual item. So what this EPC number means is you'll program this, they'll actually program this into the chip. They will affix one of these RFID tags onto everything, and then every individual item as it rolls off an assembly line will be issued its own unique number, different from every other item. So every light bulb, every can of Coke, every pair of shoes, every pair of socks, every pencil, everything will literally have its own unique ID number, trackable at a distance. And that's the other piece. That's what the antenna does. So the chip gives you the unique ID number. The antenna gives you the distance tracking. Now, it's important not to get confused about tracking at a distance. By tracking at a distance, I'm not talking about a satellite in space able to monitor what's in your living room. By tracking at a distance, it's essentially as far away as you can get with that reader device and still get a read. Now, as we saw with the Mu chip, some of them you got to get right up on it in order to read it. Other tags, like the ones that they're using at Walmart in those warehouses, are operating at a frequency and have an antenna size to where they can get about anywhere from 10 to 20 feet away and still be able to read those. And their model is in those warehouses, they have reader devices on either side of the loading dock going into the warehouse, and as the item comes through on a forklift, those reader devices send out their pulse of energy, get back the signal, and they can make an automatic note to the inventory control that that thing has gone in. What that also means with that read range is that if you all had RFID devices or RFID tags in your clothing and in the things in your purses and wallets and shoes and backpacks, someone could simply mill through the crowd with a reader device, one of those little handheld devices maybe in a backpack, and pick up all of those unique numbers. All right. So the unique serial number is crucial. The reading at a distance is crucial. Probably the maximum distance that I've heard of being able to read an RFID tag legally is maybe 30 feet. I've seen some applications where you could get 60 feet, but realistically you're probably talking 10 to 20 feet on those tags, and some of them more like 5 feet. If I put a reader device in a doorway, though, that's about, I don't need 20 feet to read you as you walk through a doorway. I can just do an electronic frisk with a reader device on either side of the door. Okay. This picture, just to give you a sense of how what's the word I want? How intent on tracking everything the folks behind a lot of these plans are. This is actually a picture of a guy out in the frozen tundra holding an antenna to track reindeer. And one of the applications for radio frequency ID is literally putting them on animals. Collars, injectable. They've even superglued them onto the feathers of birds so that they could track them at a distance as well. I just thought that was a pretty startling image there, that you can actually go out. And in fact, this picture actually comes from a research plan to help Native people maintain their way of life, which I think is the ultimate irony. They're helping them maintain their way of life, which is herding reindeer. And they're doing it by putting collars on the reindeer and enabling them to use the antenna so they can find the reindeer. So that's going to help them sort of keep close to their roots in nature. More to the point here, though, are plans to put RFID tags in our passports. And then we will become the reindeer. The picture that you see here is an image of the sort of stock with which passports are made. There is an organization that deals with passport standards, and they have essentially issued a mandate that our U.S. passports will contain RFID. They're going to begin rolling this out in certain select locations as early as the early part of 2005. There are many problems associated with this application. One of them is that if you have a passport in your pocket and you can read it from many feet away, that passport on that chip contains information encoded about who you are and what your nationality is and all of the other information that's visible on your passport. And now, without you even taking it out of your wallet, someone could read it right through your wallet, right through your purse, your backpack, your suitcase, etc., including hostile governments, including pickpockets, including anybody who can get a hold of that reader device. Now, what's especially disturbing about this is that the version of RFID they're putting in the passports is not like that little Mew chip where the guy couldn't read it even if he had the right, even if he had a reader device. This is a version anybody could read. You could go on the internet and for a couple grand, you could buy the reader device yourself to read this. And in fact, if you were a pickpocket, it'd probably be a good investment to do exactly that. So our concern, and this concern has been expressed by many people in the privacy community to the folks in our government who are promoting this use of RFID, this is a terrible idea. It's an absolutely awful idea to be able to remotely read the information on passports. It's just I don't even know what they're thinking. So I think it's already beginning. This notion of we will be tracked through RFID devices is coming, and it's coming fairly quickly. Here's another picture. Antenna location on a finished passport, quite unvisible. This actually came from a presentation on this topic, and I believe it was originally in French. So his translation there of unvisible. But I thought it was interesting that he made a point of specifying that it could be made invisible. So I don't know what their original plan was. They would just give us these things and not tell us that they had RFID in them. Again, it gets back to the exploding 20. It's not the fact of whether or not it's in there. It's the fact of that we would even suspect that they might do something like that without telling us. All right, I want to talk about a couple things that I've done in the last year. One of them was I flew to the German town of Rheinberg to find out why IBM had this to say. Residents of the German town of Rheinberg will find themselves guinea pigs in what Metro and its partners hope will become a global standard within the next 5 to 10 years. Now, there's a store in Germany called the Future Store, the Metro Future Store. And it is a store where they have taken all of the consumer product manufacturers, all the integrators, all the IBMs, all the software manufacturers, and gotten them all together to create sort of a test environment with real live shoppers where they can check out their technology and they can test it and see what they can and can't do with it in a real store. Here's some of the companies involved in the RFID Future Store in Rheinberg, Germany. And I flew out there the end of January this year, 2004, and I, along with a German privacy group and a camera crew and a couple of photographers, had a 3.5-hour tour of the store by the executives in charge of it. So they showed us around. And there's me with my camera crew. As you see, I'm holding an RFID tag that is next to a DVD. one of the more expensive items in the store that they might want to tag so that they could prevent shoplifting. And there's me out in front of the store. It's actually called the Extra Future Store. There's no real way of knowing the store is any different from any other store in the Extra chain except for the little words Future Store, which you can barely see there. Once you get inside, there's a couple of signs and other things, but my observation was most people were walking right past them, just intent on doing their shopping. They're not interested in some technology that IBM's testing out. They're interested in going in and getting their groceries and leaving. You see me on the right-hand side checking out what's called a smart shelf. And the smart shelf is a shelf that has been fitted with an RFID reader directly incorporated into the shelf. And remember that little Pantene lid that I showed you with the tag on it? That's where I got it. So what they've done is they've put the RFID tag, stuck it on there just like a price tag with a barcode onto the Pantene. They put it on the shelf, and a reader device in the shelf picks up the presence of those Pantene shampoo bottles. Now their idea here is what they call real-time inventory. So as it gets down to the last, say, 2 bottles, it would send out a little alert to the back room, which would tell the stock boy to come out and put some more Pantene shampoo on the shelf. That's the main reason why they want what's called item level tagging. That means putting it on the individual item. We have many reasons not to want that as consumers. Probably the most important of which is that if we leave the store with those tags on there, then we can be item level tagged, and the doorway can read us and know what's in our pocket. Shampoo, I don't usually carry around a bottle of shampoo with me, but I do carry around lots of other things with me that could be item level tagged. One of the first things that I saw when I went into the store is the RFID, excuse me, not RFID, but the tracking grocery cart. And this is sort of one of my pet peeves, is retail environments are now tracking people as they walk around. We'll be talking a little bit more about that later on. And when I got to the back of the room, the back of the store, they had this RFID reader kiosk. And what this does is the little X is the reader device. You can hold the product up to the reader device, and on the screen behind you'll get information about the product. It might say, oh, this is Pantene, and here's a picture of a model who's washed her hair with it. I don't know, information about the Pantene shampoo or whatever else it is that you're holding up there. It's interesting because I asked, what is the read range on these tags? In other words, how far away can how close does a reader have to be before it can pick up the information? And rather than telling me the answer, which later turned out to be about 4.5 feet, instead the gentleman said, well, test it and see. So I held it up to the reader device, and it blinked out at about 6 inches. And I said, so you're telling me the read range is about 6 inches? He said, that looks like 6 inches. So it's very interesting how the answer was not, well, no, the read range is 4.5 feet. The answer was, it looks like about 6 inches. Now that's significant because you can tune a reader device down. You can reduce the amount of power coming out of it to give someone the impression that it has a short read range, when in reality, if you cranked it up to its highest legal limit, you could get a much longer read range out of it. So as you move forward with this technology, and as it begins surrounding us in things like, in England they have it as the transit pass. It actually opens up your way into the subway. And you have to hold it right up against the reader to open it. So when I ask people, don't you have privacy concerns? Oh, well, the read range is only 1 inch. Well, you don't know that. They could crank that thing down and make it 1/4 of an inch. They could crank it back up and read it from across a room, potentially. So you don't really know that, and that's one of the reasons why we need labeling on the tags stating what their maximum read range is as well. So not just labeling telling you it's there, which is one of my pet peeves, that we don't know where it is, but also labeling telling you more information about how far away it can be read, and information about where the reader devices are, so you're not inadvertently walking past them all the time being scanned. All right, here's another thing that I found at this Metro store. There's a lot of talk about killing the tags at the point of sale. So, it's one thing to be surveilled in the store. It's another thing to be surveilled when you leave the store. And what they had set up was something they called the killer kiosk. I actually called it the undead machine. And what this killer kiosk did was you were supposed to pay for your groceries at this future store and then take your items over to this other kiosk, which, by the way, was sort of inconveniently located sort of back around behind where you just came out. You're supposed to take them over there and one by one put them on this machine and push a button to deactivate the tags on them. And as you can imagine, not a lot of consumers were actually doing this. When I went over to check it out, they had been boasting that, we have the first deactivation kiosk anywhere on the planet and it's really great. So I went over there And I held up the Pantene shampoo, and this screen showed up, and I don't know how well you can see it, but up across the top it says barcode number, and it's got a series of zeros. And then down below, there's like an E0401, blah, blah, blah. There's a serial number down at the bottom. And when I originally held it up, they were all numbers. And when I pushed the button, bzz, the numbers along the top were replaced with zeros. But the number on the bottom stayed constant. Now, there's a reason why this is significant. What Metro had done, what the Future Store had done, was program a programmable part of the chip. Right? Now, there's two different kinds of chips. There's chips that are written at the factory once and you never can write them again. And then there's chips with a little programmable area where they can overwrite other information on them. And what they had done here was actually overwrite the barcode information into them. So you could take a whole box of products, you could put it on a read writer, you could write that barcode number onto all of them, and then voila, now when you scan it, you know what that item is because of its barcode number. When they erased it, they simply erased the barcode number, but they didn't erase the unique ID number. And only that item on the whole planet has that unique ID number. Nothing else is numbers E0401, et cetera, et cetera. That's its unique ID number. So you'll see in the next picture, there's me like waiting for this to be erased. They said, wait, it's going to deactivate. And I'm standing there, and as you can see, sort of puzzled, like, okay, well, so, like, yeah. And the look on their faces, I put this slide in here because I love the classic look on their faces, which is we don't get what the problem is. And we had this total miscommunication. It wasn't a language barrier. They spoke great English. But we had this total moment where you could tell the difference between supply-side guys and privacy people. And it was a complete disconnect. They were like, well, we've deleted the barcode number. I said, well, I don't care about the barcode number. I care about that unique ID number because that's the Social Security number. That's the serial number. That's the thing you're going to use to identify this back with me. And they just didn't get it. So it was an interesting moment. Now, this picture. Remember I told you if you put them in the microwave, they burn? They really do burn. This is an RFID tag. This is a fairly good size. It's about this big. And this is after like 3 seconds in the microwave. This is not 20 minutes. This is literally 3 seconds. I put it in and I hit 5 seconds, and long before I got there, it was like in flames. So your choices, if you want to deactivate an RFID tag, is you can kind of stand there puzzled waiting for it to do whatever it does, which, you know, this is the only one on the planet, by the way. So you can stand there doing that, or you can do this. But there's really not a lot of options for consumers to deactivate RFID tags. So really your only choices are remove it. You could cut the antenna off the chip. You can't really crush it. Water doesn't affect some of these. Some of these can go through industrial laundering processes and not be destroyed. So we don't have a lot of options for killing chips. They're working on a new standard for RFID tags that would be killable, but as of yet they're still hashing out the standard, much less have they actually produced those chips. Okay. Now, here, just to get to the end of my Metro Future Store story. So afterwards, we're all eating donuts, and we're having a little chat after our 3-hour tour around the store. And they assured me that they'd showed me every application of RFID in the store. And just so you know, they had only tagged Pantene shampoo, Kraft Philadelphia cream cheese, Gillette razor blades, and DVDs. Those are the only items in the entire store that had been tagged because it's a trial. So they're not going to spend the money. These tags are actually quite expensive. Some estimates say between 20 and 50, 60 cents a piece. So they're not going to put those on every item in the store yet. They're just testing it out, seeing what that's going to entail. So, you know, I was told, okay, you've seen everything. We've shown you all the whole shebang. And I asked like 3 times, I just want to make sure I've really seen it all, right? That you're not hiding anything. Oh, no, we have an openness policy. They hand me this pamphlet. And I said, we're showing you, we're showing the public everything. Well, so the next day, I'm giving a talk in Germany. And just to give you a sense of how just bizarre my life is, the talk is in a cafe, which is underground. And it turns out it's a converted underground Nazi bunker that they've turned into this coffee shop. So anyway, just a bizarre place to have this experience happen to me. So I'm down in this coffee shop, giving a talk to a crowd about this size. And I'm showing these tagged Pantene shampoo and the tagged Gillette products, and everybody's, you know, aghast. We have a little reader device, kind of like this, you know, hooked up to the computer. We've got a PowerPoint, and I'm holding them. And as I hold them one by one, you know, the numbers appear up on the screen. So people are going, yeah, wow, there really is a number in there. Well, on a whim, one of the people up there on the stage with me, part of this privacy group I was working with, said, well, you know, next they're going to be putting these in our loyalty cards, you know, our little frequent shopper cards. And he pulls out the payback card. I love this name. It's the German Metro reward card. It's called the payback card. And he says, yeah, right, next they're going to put it in there. And he holds it up to the reader device, and I will be dipped if a number did not appear on screen. Now, what we found out was they had actually hidden an RFID tag and an antenna in people's shopper carts. And they were tracking people, not just products. And in fact, not only were they tracking people, but they were tracking people from what we could tell as they entered and left the store through those portal devices that they had in the doorway to make sure you weren't stealing the products. They were tagging people right through their wallets, right through their purses, and identifying people. Now, we were scandalized. In fact, what you see at the right here is an X-ray, so you can actually see the antenna going around and around on there. And in fact, people were so upset about this that they forced a recall. Turned out 10,000 people had been given this. And when I heard that, I went, okay, well, now I know why IBM is calling these people guinea pigs. So they went into just a regular community, to the regular community grocery store, and were using it to treat people as basically lab rats for their technology. So again, this gets back to the exploding 20. It's not the fact that we have to ask the question, the fact that these kind of things are going on secretly, I think is the problem. That's really what we're facing right now in 2004, is we really don't know where this is being tested, and the people doing it are not really doing it responsibly. All right. Now, Texas Instruments, remember you saw the whole tray of all the different tags they have? Texas Instruments is openly promoting this use of RFID. This is an image showing a woman, you know, seemingly not even knowing, when she walks past that reader device, her little purse is beaming out. Here I am, and I'm Jane Q. Shopper, and I'm either a valuable shopper, or maybe I'm a sort of low-income shopper, and you can treat me badly. They specifically come right out and say, you know, it's up to you how you want to treat your customers. You can identify them when they come in, and you can make a decision whether to treat them well or poorly. So now it's interesting. Since I've been publicizing this image from the Texas Instruments website, they pulled it. They've removed this page. There are a number of companies that are actively promoting this, and we have really no way of knowing whether they're in our loyalty cards right now, our frequent shopper cards. Of course, I wouldn't be caught dead using one, but that's a different issue. All right, Tesco in England. Now, I tell you this to tell you a little bit of good news. Here's the good news. As far as I know, our efforts have been extremely successful in the last year and a half to stop this technology dead in its tracks here in the United States on item-level individual products. Now, in Germany, they're putting it on those 4 products that I mentioned. Tesco is one of the biggest retailers, or the biggest retailer in England, and this whole aisle that you see is all a reader device all the way down the aisle. And they've put an RFID tag on each of their DVDs. It's visible. You can see it if you flip it over. You can tell that it's on there if you know what to look for. It's very clear plastic. I love the sign that they put up. They said, you know, we're being really upfront, and we're telling people that we're using the technology. No secrecy here. Tell me what you think of this sign. Here's the notice. Helping to make your shopping easier. We are trialing new technology to help improve availability of DVDs and games. To find out more, please pick up a leaflet from customer service. Every little helps, which is the way the British say every little bit helps. So, do you feel informed? When I went over and I got the pamphlet, it basically says, we're trying out this new technology, and it's going to be really great, and it's going to ensure that you never run out of the products you want. Everything you need is going to be right there on the shelf, just where you want to find it. We're working together to make a better store. This is notice. This is disclosure. I was horrified. So, but when you hear Tesco talk about it, I mean, they're up front with their consumers, and their customers all know this is happening, and they're all comfortable with it. All right, this is the reader portal in place in the Tesco store when you walk in and out. Tesco does have a loyalty card. From what I've been told, it does not have RFID in it. If anybody has one and would like to subject it to an X-ray, if you find it otherwise, please let me know. What's interesting is those portals are now on the way into stores as well as out of stores, so they could be scanning you as you walk in. All right. So that was one of my adventures this last year, was checking out the Metro store and uncovering that scandal and causing a lot of front-page news and full hour-long TV specials and everything else on the horrible scandal of RFID in Germany. So it gave them a big black eye in that store. So now the other thing was another sort of scandal that I uncovered this past year was something called Frontline Expo, and what it is it's a trade show where the people who do the supply side stuff, those reader devices you saw, that's where they sell that. So they do all the barcode inventory control management for the people who have to comply with that Walmart mandate. And it looks like this. It's a sort of medium-sized conference. And you'll see, folks are from Philips and IBM and ADT, the people who do home security and other things. And one of the things that I found when I was there was this smart shelf being trialed. And the smart shelf that you see here is essentially a metal shelf on the bottom, and you see how it kind of curves up, and on top they had a little plastic, it looked like an upside-down tray. So what it is kind of a hollow shelf. If you see one of those, drop me an email. If you see one in a real store. I do not know of this being trialed in any real store, but they're definitely promoting it as a possibility or something that they would like to be selling. You see above it says automated shelf-level merchandise management. So this is literally getting to the point of putting those on individual products. So you see when I flipped over the Kleenex box, there's one of those circular RFID tags on it. So the shelf is actually able to read that tag, the Kleenex box sitting on it. Same thing with little swimmers' diapers. You see the little circular tag on there. Now this obviously was for demo purposes. If you wanted to hide that, you could do a better job than that. They just literally just stuck them on and were testing out the shelf. Another similar smart shelf was holding pharmacy products. This is Similac Formula, a little tag on the bottom there. This is a Rite Aid product. I believe this was NyQuil. Has another tag. It's circular. If you pulled it off, you could see the antenna running around on it. And this was another one that pharmaceuticals are a very hot application for RFID right now. Drugs. They want to prevent counterfeiting. They've got a whole host of plans with drugs. And this was a prototype. And so you open it up, and it looks just like a regular, blister pack of medication. But when you hold it up the right way to the light, you see that little indented rectangle? That's where the RFID tag is. It's actually inside of there between the layers of the cardboard. Now again, are they actually doing this? To the best of my knowledge, they are not. The people at both of these shelves denied any active RFID tagging at any stores in the United States. So as far as I know, and believe me, I spend 20, 30 hours a week reading everything I can get my hands on about this information, all the latest industry, a lot of really boring stuff. And I'll tell you, I do not know personally of any retailer in the United States that is admitting to openly using RFID. Now that's actually really good news, because what it means is that if we find it, if you actually find it being done, then that's big news. And in fact, it's big news in sort of a scandalous way that they will have to either explain themselves or back away from it. And let me get into some of our successes in the last year. By the way, let me put one caveat on there. There are 6 or 7 Walmart stores in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that are selling Hewlett-Packard products, like big printers, that do have RFID tags on the outside of the boxes. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't usually carry a big printer box in my back pocket, so the consumer privacy implications of that are probably not so huge. We did last November, about a year ago, issue a position statement. This was over 40 of the world's leading consumer privacy groups. We co-authored it. And that position statement, which we issued to industry across the board, said, we don't want to see any item level tagging. We don't want to see you putting any of these tags on individual items that we buy. What you do in the warehouse is your business. We're not going to argue with you about crates and pallets. But we are going to draw the line at putting these tags on items in our stores. And when I say our stores, the store is kind of a shared space. They like to think of it as their space, and they can treat us like rats in a cage and surveil us with cameras and do whatever they want. But I think the average consumer feels like when you go into a store, you still have some dignity. And you still have a right not to be tracked and trailed and stared at and photographed and other things because of their technology. So I think that's really going to be the battleground. And these retailers and these manufacturers have complied with our request. We requested a moratorium on item-level tagging a year ago, and they have complied with it. The only exception being those 7 stores, those 7 Walmart stores in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. Yeah. So again, these are prototypes, but it gives you a sense of where they're trying to go. Now, there's a company called Checkpoint Systems that I'm extremely concerned about. And what Checkpoint Systems does, they manufacture those anti-theft portals. There's actually 2 companies, Checkpoint and Sensormatic. That are probably the main ones. And you can see when you walk through the next one you walk through, look down at the bottom and you'll probably see the company name on there. And Checkpoint had a display at this Frontline Solutions conference. And from here it looks like just some clothing labels, not a real big deal, stuff you'd have in the supply side. And you've got Abercrombie & Fitch, Carter's, Calvin Klein, and that black one up at the top says Old Navy. And then I saw this one. This is a Champion Athletic Works product. It's made by Sara Lee. You know, the same people who make pie also own Champion. And it has a little sewn-in tag that actually says RFID. Well, when you look inside of it, kind of hard to see here, but yeah, in fact, you can't really see. What it has is a black circle and lots of circuitry running out of it that's kind of been sewn into it, sort of on that top portion. I'm sorry, it's not showing up very well there. This is actually a remote trackable RFID tag, sewn directly into a garment, incorporated into a fabric label and sewn into a garment. Are they selling these? They deny it.
The Department of Homeland Security wants to cut down on the chances that potential terrorists and illegal immigrants can get their hands on government IDs. Today, Homeland Security Chief Michael Chertoff unveiled plans for new, more secure driver's licenses. It would require some cooperation now between state and federal officials. NBC's Pete Williams is in Washington. All right, let's talk about what these real IDs are and what makes them any different than what we already have.
The difference is that there'll be a lot more checking by the state before they hand that driver's license over to you. Right now, you sort of walk in, the state does a minimal amount of checking, but the Department of Homeland Security wants states to make those things much more carefully checked to make sure that you are who you say you are. So when you go in to renew your license, you're going to have to bring proof of who you are, proof of your residency. The state then has to check and make sure that there's nobody else with your name and social security number that has a driver's license someplace else. They're going to take a digital photograph of you. They're going to incorporate technology into the license to make it harder to counterfeit. And Michael Chertoff says there is a good reason for all this extra bother.
There are three categories of people who will be very unhappy about secured driver's licenses. Terrorists and people who want to get on airplanes and in federal buildings and avoid terrorist watch lists. Illegal immigrants who want to work in this country by pretending to be American citizens. And con men.
Now, the states, when this was originally proposed, said this is going to be terribly expensive because they're going to have to, if you walk in with your passport or your birth certificate, they're going to have to verify that that's accurate. It's going to take a while. It's going to do some checking. They have to save images of these documents, for example. And they said it would cost something like $14 to $16 billion. Well, now the department has vastly scaled this back and hoping to get the states more on board with this. And they're going to phase it in. And I think the simplest way to explain this is that if you were 43 years old on December 1st, this past December 1st, if you were 43 or over, you won't have to get this real ID until 2017. But if you're under 43 on December 1st of last year, you will have to get this new real ID by 2014. Now, here's one other catch. Today, Secretary Chertoff said, we need to hear from the states about whether they're going to do this. And they need to tell us by May. They need to raise their hands and tell us by May if they're not going to participate in Real ID, if they're not going to sign up for this. If they're not, then starting in May of this year, you will not be able to use a driver's license from that state to board an airplane. Let me just say that one more time. If you live in a state that by May says, nope, we're not taking part in Real ID, you can no longer use that state's driver's license to board an airplane. You'll have to use a passport or some other form of federally authorized documentation. So I think the department is hoping that residents of states that have been reluctant to join into Real ID will contact their legislators and say, hey, we want to join this. At least that's the theory.
Yeah, but given that 17 states are fighting this Real ID legislation, who knows how all of this might play out and how many times we all might be standing in the DMV line to get our pictures taken again, Pete.
I guess what the answer of Homeland would be, yes, 17 states have said they didn't like the old idea for Real ID. Now the question is, will this vastly cheaper, they say this is going to cut like 75% of the cost, will the states now join in? That's the question.
All right, so we'll wait and see what this means for us really in terms of taking action in our own lives. Pete Williams, thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Hi, I'm Katie Couric. Welcome to Eye to Eye. The Bush administration and several states are at odds over new rules to make U.S. driver's licenses more secure. Our correspondent Bob Orr spoke with Homeland Security Secretary Michael Chertoff about the importance of the Real ID Act.
Right now, as every college kid knows, one of the easiest things in the world to fabricate is a driver's license. It's also the case now that in a number of states, an illegal alien can get a driver's license because they don't actually seek or validate your proof of legitimate residence in the country. So there's a huge vulnerability that's created, one we saw on 9/11 in terms of people evading a watch list. Also the fact that driver's licenses that are insecure actually facilitate illegal immigration and various kinds of fraud. Nailing this problem down and getting secure identification is going to address all three of those things. It's going to prevent terrorists from getting by our watch lists. It's going to prevent illegal immigrants or illegal migrants from masquerading as American citizens. And it's going to remove one of the tools that con artists use to steal identity.
Privacy people have complained that this is an invasion of privacy in some way. States have complained that it's too expensive. I mean, from where you sit, isn't this a no-brainer?
Well, it is a no-brainer. We have addressed the state concerns with costs by making some changes to the business model and by extending the deadline in a way that will cut costs by about 3/4. So I think we've dealt with that issue. As far as privacy is concerned, look, it's very simple to me. There is no privacy interest that anyone has ever demonstrated to me in allowing people to pretend to be somebody else or in allowing people to lie about their identity or to falsify their identification documents. We are better off from a privacy standpoint if we can be confident that our identities are not going to be stolen, if we can be confident that the identification document presented to us is a valid document. And I think that the measures we take here are going to make privacy stronger rather than weaker.
I know that your argument in some cases has been with the states that have been resistant, but in effect, haven't you put people on notice today that if their state opts out, they're in for a potentially unpleasant experience in May?
Well, it's not me putting people on notice, it's Congress. Congress was very clear that if a state has not at least begun the process of implementing this by May 2008, then the driver's license from that state will no longer be accepted for federal identification purposes. And that's going to be inconvenient for people from that state. Now, many of them may use other IDs. They may use their passport or a federal pass card or some other document. But for those who want to use their driver's license to get on airplanes, they're going to have an incentive to make sure their state at least begins the process of working with us to meet this congressional mandate.
That's a pretty heavy hammer to have over the states, because I think you said in your press conference that you would expect some upheaval from people.
I think it's not just because of the requirement that you have this kind of ID to get on an airplane. I think when people really understand what we're doing, which includes, among other things, ensuring that when people give out licenses, they have validated the fact that you are properly in the country. I think they're going to look at this as another element of this question of licenses for illegal immigrants. They're going to say, why should my state allow illegal immigrants to pretend to be Americans and get driver's licenses? Why shouldn't we take advantage of the federal government's offer to help us police our own driver's licenses? So I think there's going to be a groundswell of support for this, because I think the public gets it.
Bringing the virtual world of Facebook into the real world of the village. Every village guest received a wristband holding an RFID microchip that contained their Facebook username and password. On each village attraction, we attached an RFID microchip capable of collecting the user's data and sending it directly back to Facebook, creating a real-time sharing experience for the guests with their Facebook friends. The teenagers, full of excitement, used the wristband non-stop. In addition, the wristband was also used to auto-tag the teenagers in pictures that were uploaded to Facebook online. The experience moved from the world of Facebook into the real world and returned to the virtual world in full capacity. Like?
In other news tonight, a new high-tech way to keep track of students is being used right here in the Bay Area. Now, the technology is expected to lessen the teacher's responsibility and hopefully increase students' learning. KTVU's Ken Pritchett is live now in Richmond with more on how this system works. Ken?
Well, the children wear this tracking device on their clothing, and it will alert if a child leaves campus. But the county says one major benefit of this technology is for teachers because it will allow them more time to teach. It is nap time at George Miller Children's School, a brief moment in the day when children can relax, a rare luxury for teachers such as Simone Buford.
Checking papers all day long, checking papers, checking papers, checking papers.
When a child arrives, a teacher must write it down. Every time a child eats, a teacher must write it down. But embedded in what looks like a tiny basketball jersey is technology that may change that.
So now, when we feed the children lunch, we just have to push a button, and it's done. So we don't have to check the paper, check the paper, check the paper.
Inside the jersey is a radio frequency tag that also uses Wi-Fi, which is monitored by sensors planted inside the school. Each dot on this map represents a child or teacher. Parents digitally sign in and out a child seen on this screen, saving teachers from hand-filing attendance records required by the state.
Within a year, we could have completely pay off all this system with from the saving that we have from the staffing.
Sung Kim with the county's Employment and Human Services Department says 3,000 man-hours could eventually be saved with this $50,000 system, which was paid for by a federal grant.
We are the first child care center that implementing with this technology, but it's already proven technology.
In the end, the tracking tags are a security feature and something akin to an inventory system that frees teachers for more important things.
Spend more time with the children. Spend more time with the children.
We know of at least one parent who has raised questions about this system, questions about the safety of it. The county counters that this technology has been used for some time in hospital settings. In Richmond, Ken Pritchett, KTVU Channel 2 News.
A new school year and a new piece of technology that has some students worried. The new Canaan, Connecticut School District could soon be trying out electronic tracking technology on students and school property. Students would carry ID cards with radio frequency strips. The cards could track students inside the school, which the company supplying the cards says could be useful in an emergency.
The need to quickly identify where they are for their safety and security is something that can be done several times a second.
Students and parents have mixed reviews.
I think it's my business to know where he is, and the school's business to a certain extent when he's there.
I think they would feel, I don't know, weird about people knowing where they are.
The school board still has to approve the program. It would start in the spring and would be voluntary. Noel Waghorn, The Associated Press.
they already have this plan, but the thing that we need to be conscious of is this implantable biomicrochip. Are you following me?
Yes.
So it's RFID chip that they're going to put in everyone. This is what we need to be aware of, because that is the culmination of their plan. They want to make human slaves out of us. They want to make mind control slaves out of us. They want sheeple. They want useless eaters. They want automatons. They want to control you by remote control. And this is actually what's going on.
In the 1960s, Professor Jose Delgado took a normally hostile bull and implanted electrodes into its brain. Electrodes that could be activated by a radio transmitter. His objective was to see if stimulation of the bull's midbrain could short-circuit the rage signals, stopping the bull before it reached the matador. After the bull had recovered from the implantation and in mid-charge, the button was pressed. The bull's aggression ceased instantly.
This is your brain. This is your brain on a microchip.
Scientists say they'll now be focusing on linking the microchip with the human brain to see how well it can control artificial limbs and restore brain function. University officials say this is the only Canadian city that will be working with such technology. Crystal Demansing, CBC News, Calgary.
A clearer experiment was performed with cats. In this classic example, the hypothalamus, the rhythm maker, was implanted with electrodes. Could it be responsible not just for rhythms, but also for rage? The switch is turned. Then the switch is turned off. So indeed, the hypothalamus does control certain types of aggression.
According to Dr. Delgado, experiments of this type have also been performed on humans. We know that these experiments were conducted in Canada at certain hospitals, and that certain unwilling, unconsenting human subjects were implanted with small electrodes in the brain, and to this day are still being controlled by their handlers. It is not, ladies and gentlemen, a complex process as you may believe. In fact, it need not even be implanted within the skull or be productive of stimulation of the brain. All that is needed to accomplish the radio control of the brain is a twitching muscle. The subject becomes hypnotized and a muscle stimulant is implanted. The subject, while under hypnosis, is commanded to respond when the muscle stimulant is activated, in this case by radio transmission. While the private was in a deep trance, Watkins told him that the officer sitting across from him was an enemy soldier who was going to attempt to kill him. In the private's mind, it was a kill or be killed situation. The private did not see his own officer sitting there. He saw an enemy soldier. The private immediately jumped up and grabbed the officer by the throat. The experiment was repeated several times, and in one case the man who was hypnotized and the man who was attacked were very close friends. And the results were always the same. Watkins concluded that people could be induced to commit acts contrary to their morality if their reality was distorted by the hypnotism.
Metal detectors, liquid bans, random bag checks. As passengers, we've come to expect tight security measures associated with flying. Soon those measures will extend beyond those just taking off to include those who never leave the airport. San Antonio international officials tell KENS 5 Congress is putting into motion measures that will ensure airport employees are subject to stricter security checks. Selena Hernandez joins us live from the airport with a KENS 5 exclusive. Selena?
Chris, right now, all airport employees must pass a police and FBI background check soon. Those checks could include something a little more intrusive.
At San Antonio International Airport, officials here await the arrival of stricter security measures. not for passengers, rather airport employees.
This would be a huge step as far as the amount of background checks that we're going through. This would kind of open it up to a lot of different areas that we don't currently have in place.
Members of Congress are currently debating how to keep closer tabs on those who have access to secured areas, meaning everyone from restaurant employees to airline mechanics could soon be subjected to more rigorous background checks.
We're just kind of waiting to see what they come up with. It's fairly early in the process.
Under discussion, a check of an employee's credit history, search of their bags and property before entering secured areas, and perhaps the most extreme measure, the use of biometric readers for fingerprints and eyes, even possibly a chip implant. An idea we're told more than likely won't fly.
Before they ever got to the chip in the hand or anything like that, we feel like they would probably opt for a less intrusive way of going about it.
Again, those measures are still under congressional discussion. We're live at the airport. Selena Hernandez, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.
Imagine an emergency room where a doctor could scan a critically ill patient in an instant and know his or her entire medical history. It's an idea that could save lives, also could get under your skin. Welcome to the future.
My name is Denise L. Pease. I'm 52 years old. I was in the back of what we call Gypsy Cab. There were headlights coming towards me, and in 5 seconds my whole life changed. Before my accident, I traveled, I shopped, I had a glorious life. I don't travel as much as I used to. I'm pretty much homebound. This is my pouch. This is my little lifeline. In case I have a seizure, everything I need is in here. The problem is there needs to be something more than this, because not everyone would know to look inside of this packet for my information. What would help me is if there was some way that wherever I went in the world, that whatever medical facility I went to, a doctor could access my medical records and know how to treat me in case of a crisis.
Like 2 million other Americans, Denise is an epileptic. When a seizure strikes suddenly, the doctors in the ER need answers, and fast. Now imagine a device that could tell them all they need to know about any medical condition you have in a matter of minutes, at any hospital, anywhere in the world. Sound far-fetched? It's closer than you think.
On a typical day, patients come in with heart attacks, strokes, major trauma, cancer patients in septic shock. You name it, we have it.
What might improve the odds for some of those patients at New Jersey's Hackensack University Medical Center is this. That tiny chip Dr. Joseph Feldman, head of the hospital's trauma unit, holds in his hand. It's a radio frequency identification, or RFID tag. The same technology used to tag animals to help reunite a pet with its owner. RFID has now won Food and Drug Administration approval for use in humans.
RFID technology is very attractive to emergency departments. It enables people to quickly identify not only who the person is, but what their medical history is. And what would normally take hours sometimes can take a matter of minutes.
How does it work? With the wave of a wand, the doctor reads a unique ID number, then logs onto a central database to quickly access your medical history, surgical history, any medications you take, your allergies and blood type, even an emergency contact. So far, fewer than 100 patients are wearing an RFID medical chip in the U.S., and its $200 cost is not covered by insurance, yet. But 65 American hospitals have agreed to implement the technology, and the company that makes the chip expects that number to grow to 200 by the end of the year.
If I had the chip, I could travel all over the world. That would give me the freedom of living a life without bounds.
Now, the chip will be implanted in the upper part of your right arm, and it's just a number on the chip. It doesn't actually have your medical data on there. It has to be compared. That number has to be entered into a secure database, so a hacker couldn't randomly scan you and see your files. So with that.
That's kind of an interesting concept, isn't it? Yeah. It's fascinating.
The VeriChip. It's about the size of a grain of rice, and it contains special codes that doctors and nurses can scan and then use to access the patient's current medications and other vital health information that are stored on another secure database.
Each chip contains a unique 16-digit number that, when scanned, connects doctors to an internet database that retrieves medical records instantly. It was originally used for tracking lost pets, but the FDA approved VeriChip implants in humans.
You hear the sound of the background, people saying, Big Brother, too much information, a little scary. How do you respond to that?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I used to get that question a lot 2 years ago. Today, we've gotten it a lot less. In fact, the Attorney General of Mexico and some of his staff have received this chip for security purposes. And when the acceptance rate of the product goes up significantly like it has, some of the privacy concerns go down. But to answer your question directly, Lester, what most people are concerned with is the invasiveness of this, that it goes in your body. And as we know with pacemakers and other medical devices, that when people accept it for its applications and for its ability is when it'll work its way into society. It won't be tomorrow, it won't be next week, but 2, 3, 5 years from now, slowly but surely it'll work its way into the mainstream.
Sean Darks, chief executive of CityWatcher.com, didn't want to ask his employees to do anything he wouldn't do, so he had this chip embedded under his skin. The chip has an access code for admittance into a room holding security footage for government agencies and police. For Darks, the tiny chip is a security solution. No IDs for employees to lose. They can't. It's right there in their arm.
There are serious legal issues that are raised by this particular technology.
Privacy advocates say they're concerned these chips could monitor or track people, medical records could be abused, and a person couldn't remove the chip if they wanted to. The Electronic Privacy Information Center's Mark Rottenberg is concerned that there currently are no rules that regulate or limit how this chip can be used.
To suggest that somehow this is not personal information is simply misleading. It is very personal information.
And less secure. The chips themselves don't contain any personal information, but they do contain a key to information. Unencrypted information that Jonathan Westhughes, a software developer in Canada, says he found relatively easy to copy, meaning he could become Sean Darks in the eyes of a machine if he wanted to.
Well, they talked about, for example, electrical hazards. This thing is by no means inert. The way it works is it actually picks up and amplifies ambient electromagnetic energy from the reader devices. And if you have one of these things in your arm and you get within range of a powerful electromagnetic field, it can actually burn you.
Well, actually, obviously, Secretary Thompson, it's an honor to have him on our board of directors. And as he stated all along, when the infrastructure is in place, he will get a chip.
That could be 2050.
Now, let me finish. We now have over 60 hospitals that have agreed to implement the system, so that time is nearing.
Only 2 now, right?
And I spoke with Secretary Thompson yesterday, and we believe it's in the very near future that he will get a chip and then appear on your show.
You have a chip implanted. Is it underneath your right arm?
It's in the right arm. You power up a scanner, and you simply scan the arm. And once you scan the arm, you'll see that the identification information.
And on the laptop here you have it hooked up to, it says some number, but that doesn't.
On the database about Scott Silverman, it'll have my driver's license information, it'll have medical information, it'll have financial information, and it'll have security information for ingress and egress into facilities.
The critics would say, and I listened to it, and I'm trying to figure it out, but they use the "they" word a lot. Is there a vast RFID conspiracy out there that is they would say this is a slippery slope. This is the first thing. This is where you lull us into a false sense of security. We all get these things. And then the next thing you know, I don't know, it's making like Soylent Green. Like the Trilateral Commission, or the whole world gets taken over, like in Terminator 3 or something. Is anything? I mean, do we need to worry?
There's no conspiracy, Joe.
You sure?
I'm sure.
I'm looking at you.
I'm looking
at your eyebrow. It twitches when you say that a little bit.
And I'm looking back at you.
Come off?
almost got arrested 2 days ago at the Federal Reserve for standing outside on the sidewalk.
We're talking about the Constitution.
Of course, I know exactly what the dollar is going to do, but I'm not at liberty to. You're not going to tell me the truth.
And those people who have been yelling, oh, the UN's going to take over global
conspiracy theorists.
They've been crazy, but now they're right.
Lately, I have been coming to this camera to disclose to you over the last 12 months, you know, there's some stuff that I've had to tell you guys that even I, who look at this stuff every day, all day long, this is all I do, I have come to you and said, wow, guys, I can't believe they did this, or I can't believe this happened. I will say honestly to you today that even me, in my, you know, I guess in my childhood, you know, in my mindset that I have now, my infant mind, I'm trying to stay pure in everything I do, and in that I always think, well, I know there's going to be a mark of the beast, but, you know, maybe we'll never see it. I don't, you know, I have these fantasies, maybe, you know, I think, oh, and then it'll happen. I'll see a story and I'll say, whoa, we're closer than even what I thought. And then months will go by and I'll start to think, well, and then I'll see another story and I'll say, whoa. And let me tell you, today is one of those whoa days. Please give me a few moments and let me share with you what I've found. It will probably be a day of awakening for you. Here is the story. Rfid Chip buys Steel Vault, creating micro-implant health record credit score empire. Rfid Chip, the company that markets a microchip implant that links to your online health records, has acquired Steel Vault. Get ready. A credit monitoring and anti-identity theft company. The combined company will now operate under a new name, Positive ID. The all-stock transaction will leave Positive ID in charge of burgeoning empire of identity, health, and microchip implant business that will only encourage its critics. BNet previously noted that some regard the company as part of a prophecy in the book of Revelation. It's talking about you and me, because the HealthLink chip carries an RFID number that can be used as both money and proof of ID. You guys, I'm not making this up. This is what the story says. And as part of President Obama's secret Nazi plan to enslave America. Okay, I don't know. I don't know if I don't know. I contacted Jim Edwards. I'm not sure if he's thinking we're crazy or not. But anyway, the most obvious criticism to be made of the deal is that it potentially allows Positive ID to link or cross-check patients' health records from HealthLink chip, from the HealthLink chip to people's credit scores. One assuming that the company will put up firewalls to prevent that. Positive ID CEO Scott Silverman, that's the guy, said Positive ID will be the first company of its kind to combine a successful identity security business with one of the world's first personal health records. Through our HealthLink business, Positive ID will address some of the most important issues affecting our society today with our identification tools and technologies for consumers' business. So, here it is, guys. Here it is. This is your whoa for the day. Never before, when you talk about implanting chips in people, it was always just for health care and health records and had nothing to do with money, had nothing to do with your identity, had nothing to do with the transfer of funds or anything like that. And right here in this story, you see Scott Silverman, this guy that you've seen so much talk about. He's been on all those clips. He's the front man, and they've changed their name, of course. But never before have they ever admitted. This is the first time they've admitted they're going to use chips for money and identity. And they've bought Steel Vault, which is a company that specializes in identity theft and keeping sure that you're checking in credit cards and bank accounts and have not been... Did you hear what I just said? There is a prophecy in the Bible that says at some point you will be pushed up against a wall, essentially. Not physically, maybe physically, but I'm just saying spiritually. You'll be pushed in a corner, and they will say, you're not going to be able to buy or sell, Mr. Woodrow, until you step over here and get this done. Pledge allegiance to, maybe take a chip, maybe not. I will say this, the best of them, and I have talked to the best of the people in prophecy. I have a lot of friends, and I've talked to every person that does what I do, and we've all talked, and I've all had conversations about the mark of the beast. Is it a chip? Is it not? Is it just pledging allegiance? Is it? What is it exactly? And not one person will be able to tell you for sure this is it. We've got a lot of ideas, but no one knows for sure. We will not know until that day happens. And when it happens, you will know. I promise you, you will know. My point for today is this. Today was a whoa. Today was, oh my gosh, look at this. Now, take this commercial that I'm about to show you and put it with your money. This is HealthLink. This is Rfid Chip. It's all the same company. They're changing their name every couple of months. They're doing, because people know Rfid Chip. Everyone knows Rfid Chip. But look at this commercial as we end for today.
To think something so small can connect you to everything that matters.
When your life and all you love
are on the line.
HealthLink is always with you when every second counts in the emergency room, providing immediate access to your medical records.
Because Bob has trouble remembering all his medications.
Because I'm in love with my kids' kids.
Because my car lost control while driving.
Because now I'm looking out for both of us.
Because I have diabetes, but it doesn't have me.
Because I spend my life in the ER trying to save yours.
It's how we get through the SunPass lanes, how we get into a secure building, and how we pay at checkouts. It's called Radio Frequency Identification Technology, or RFID. It's a chip like this one, which communicates using radio waves in credit and debit cards with this logo on it, making it faster and easier to make purchases, but also making it easier for thieves to steal your information.
As a criminal, what you can do is that you can walk by someone if you have an RFID reader, and you can scan the data that's in there.
Detective Ricardo Arias is part of the Miami Electronic Crime Task Force with the Secret Service. He says it takes two pieces of technology for thieves to steal your information: a card scanner, which you can find online for as little as $20, and a hacking software that breaks the encryption on the credit cards. That software also available online.
I mean, it's just too easy. Everything's too easy.
It would be frightening, though.
It makes me feel like there's definitely room for improvement.
So yes, some experts say that with the right software, you can get my personal information off my credit card. But we discovered something even more alarming, and it has to do with this.
And this software can be downloaded for free from anywhere.
U.S. passports issued after 2006 also have an RFID chip embedded inside the back cover. FIU engineering professor Faisal Khalin says if your passport falls into the wrong hands, it can be passed around the world within minutes.
I'm going to actually just put your passport over here. Okay, it's reading. And within few seconds, your passport with your passport number, with your nationality, with your date of birth, and every single thing appears right on that particular screen.
That is scary.
Nowadays, all these terrorists, I mean, do you think that they travel with their real identity over there? No.
While some experts say there have not been any cases involving RFID technology, others say that's because it's untraceable.
How would you know? It's nameless, it's faceless, so the best thing we can do is to know about it. I think you are less likely to fall victim to scams or to some of the latest technology if you're aware of it and you take steps to maybe utilize that same technology to protect yourself.
While there have not been reported cases in South Florida yet, it's still smart to make sure you're protected. Passport and credit card sleeves, along with wallets and cases, are available online and claim to protect your personal information from being hacked. We've posted some of those links on our website, NBCMiami.com. We've also posted 4 major credit card companies' responses to the RFID technology. Just search in our news links. Nathalie Pozo, NBC Miami.
Walmart calls it the latest high-tech way to keep track of its inventory, but others say it could allow the store to spy on people who buy their clothes there.
Money editor John Delano got to the bottom of what this is all about. He joins us live with more. John?
Well, Christine, this is a case where there's a bit of truth in both what Walmart says and those who have raised concerns. After reports first surfaced that Walmart was putting an electronic chip in some of its clothing items, the company moved quickly today to allay concerns that they were spying on anybody. But it's clear that Walmart customers are not happy about this latest advance in technology. It's called an EPC, or Electronic Product Code. And Walmart says it's a sophisticated inventory management tool to track the clothes it sells. But privacy advocates say unless the customer removes the tag on their own, Walmart could determine the location of your clothes even after you leave the store.
You have all your problems with your identity theft and, people get into your personal business. Now they're going to track your clothes. No, I'm sorry. I don't feel comfortable with that at all.
It's a common reaction from most Walmart customers.
Nah, I don't like that idea whatsoever. Absolutely not. That's pretty much Big Brother.
That is just invading people's privacy.
Walmart wouldn't let us in their store to shoot some pictures, so I went in and bought some of the products that are likely to have the EPC, or so-called smart tag. Products like jeans, or how about some underwear? Or even a lady's camisole. Walmart says the EPC will help stores know when items are running low on their shelves. And customers can always remove the tag later on. But it's a removable tag. Does that make it better?
No, no. It's just easier if you can come and buy whatever you need and leave, not have to worry about taking a tag off.
Ben Peters buys jeans at Walmart, and he says he has no problem with the smart tag up to a point.
I don't know if they want to track me. As long as they're not transmitting something into my body, I don't really care.
Well, do you think they should know where your underwear is?
Probably not my underwear.
Again, Walmart insists that it doesn't really care where its products go after it leaves the store. A spokesman told me clothing with the chip will be clearly labeled so customers can remove it. And they've asked their suppliers not to embed the chip in the clothing. And Walmart says even if someone had the right Walmart scanner, it only works within 15 feet of the smart tag, making long-distance tracking impossible. Live in the newsroom, I'm John Delano.
Signal sent, Mr. Sharp. Have a pleasant evening.
Good evening, Mr. Sharp. What is your desired destination?
Server, take me home.
I took the liberty of checking the grocery items in your home.
Yeah?
You're running out of milk and bananas. And your vehicle needs fuel. The nearest location with these items in stock is a gas station at Highland and Willoughby. It's on the way home.
I just want to get home and watch real-life car crashes.
I could always record real-life car crashes, part 2.
I'm really tired.
It would be better to do it now, rather than later.
Fine. Take me to the gas station.
Take the coins and the paper and the bills. Trade them for the hand that you cannot feel. I just want a piece of food, a scrap of sweet. It's legal tender, no electro money. It says so on the sheet. Right here. Candy bar.
Your account has been debited. 237, man. Have a nice day.
Ready to come out of your see-through cube, hiding behind your little plasma tube. Information, conglomeration, infiltration, humiliation. Cashless society holds the key. Forget your name to save a fee. Number me, never be free.
Sorry, sir. You can't purchase that item. Wouldn't be the smart decision.
What are you talking about?
Doesn't fit your physician's dietary restrictions. I think it'd be better if you purchased something else.
Yeah, I know, but I it's like I said, buy, store, control no more. Fuck your doctor, man. Live life. Hey, that's just the man trying to bring you down, brother. All right, I see, you see, he see, me see. And you
Suitable substitute would be the Smart Bar, as all the daily vitamin requirements were made of your age. It tastes great.
Well, I just wanted to...
Smart Bar, sir. Smart Bar.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you for shopping at Gas and Go. Have a nice day.
Your lighthouse still glimmers hope. I can tell. And I know I seem crazy, and maybe really I am, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong. Okay? Thank you. Here, take...
No, thank you. Thank you.
This is legal tender, man. It says so right here. Right here. They can't watch it, track it, follow it. Nor watch you, track you, follow you. Well, I know. Let's give them a card, right?
Yeah, well, how else is it supposed to work? How are they going to keep track of all the information?
You got nothing to lose but your government shoes.
Yeah, that's easy for you to say.
Well, not everything good is easy.
I have a lot to lose. I have a home, I have a job, I got this car.
A car, a bike, it's just another thing in my life, right? You're letting them make the choice in exchange for losing your voice, man. Some shiny beads and a piece of string.
Yeah, so they know what I buy. They give me 10% off every transaction.
Okay. Yeah, but how much would you pay, right, to get out of jail? All right, like, comfort or hardship, slavery or freedom, and my actions are who I am. Hey, think about it, okay? You don't know where you are, right? Come here. Sure, Big Brother put a GPS in my car, right? What's next to pass? A bug up your ass, right? I, for one, have no desire for the government to know what I'm doing, where I'm going, or what I'm eating.
It's just a card. Doesn't run my life. I'm a man, captain of my own ship.
Right. This is money. This is real, okay? This is plastic, try and deal, okay? Look, hey, take control or someone else will, all right? Think about it. Paper, plastic. Paper, plastic. Just how drastic? How drastic? Till the change fantastic, all right? Hey, what you got there, brother? Maybe more than you think. Maybe less than you know, all right?
God damn it, he took my card! Hey! Hey! Server, open the door. Open the car door. Server, open the door. Server.
Possible theft attempt.
Open the goddamn door.
Welcome to Smart Service. Please insert your smart card.
Hello. Yeah, I need to report a robbery.
Welcome to Smart Service. Please insert your smart card.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. I don't have my card anymore. It was stolen.
That was an invalid entry. Please insert your smart card. I did not receive your response in the allotted time. Please insert your smart card.
That's what I'm trying to explain to you. I don't have my card.
Thank you for using Smart Service. Have a nice night.
Think smart. Act smart. Be smart. Smart card. Yeah!
Hey! Hello! Hey, can I get a little help out here?
Hey, my smart card was stolen. Hey! Hello! Your mindless back home, would you look at me? Stop!
Your future is in our hands. Smart card. Yeah!
Thank God.
Step away from the vehicle.
It's okay. It's not what it looks like.
Where's your smart card?
I don't have it. It was stolen.
What were you doing to that car?
Ow! So we got ourselves one of those radical cash cows.
Ow! Listen, you idiots. It's really very simple. If you just...
Shut up.
Finally.
Sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Sharp, but without your smart card, of course, it took a little while to confirm your identity. I'm sure you understand.
I understand that I wouldn't have been in this mess if it wasn't for the smart card.
We at the Smart Corporation make your life as convenient as possible.
You're not a cop?
Technically, I am a special service agent from the Smart Corporation. We work hand in hand with the police to protect and serve the public's needs.
For Christ's sake.
Had we actually apprehended some sort of vagrant, I'm sure you, of all people, would appreciate the scrutiny to which he, or you, would be subjected.
What the hell is that supposed to mean? I didn't even do anything!
Well, actually, Mr. Sharp, you did. I see a man who disturbed the peace, vandalized private property. We even found currency on your person.
I can explain all that.
The beauty of the smart card is that you don't have to. Imagine how bad this would have been if you didn't have the smart card.
I can take care of myself just fine, thank you. I don't think I'll be needing the smart card anymore.
Oh. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Can we make it up to you? How about we give you a ride home?
Yes, thank you. That's the least that you can do.
Okay. You just give these officers your address, and they'll see to it that you get home safe and sound.
My address is on the card.
How do you usually get home?
I say home. The card takes me there. I don't usually think about it.
You really have no idea.
At the gas station, I was on my way home.
Well, that's all right. We'll call your wife. What's her number?
I don't know. I say speed dial 1.
Your office number.
I don't usually call myself at work.
No, of course you don't. You're a busy man with a lot on your plate. That's why the Smart Corporation is in business, to take care of those details so that intelligent, busy persons such as yourself don't have to.
Right. So how do I know this won't happen again?
To ensure that this won't happen again, the Smart Corporation has created a new system. It will eliminate the possibility of losing your card. I urge you to give it some serious thought.
Please complete your transaction. Fueling is complete. Please complete your transaction. Fueling is complete. Please complete your transaction. Fueling is... Thank you for using Smart Card. Have a pleasant evening. And remember, Smart Card is here creating your best possible future.
applications have you seen where the combination of smart cards and biometrics are catching on?
Well, there are several applications where biometrics and smart cards are becoming popular. One we see is in access control. For example, the restricted area access control system at Canada airports is using biometrics such as iris recognition and fingerprint in conjunction with smart cards for airport employees to be able to access the secure areas or non-public areas of airports. Another example is in border crossing points, checkpoints, or immigration entry points into countries for using a frequent traveler card like a citizen ID in conjunction with biometrics to verify identity in what is called an e-gate system, such as in Hong Kong and Singapore, where citizens that are re-entering the country from outside simply insert their card or read their card in a contactless reader, present their biometric sample, and if that matches to what is stored in the card, then they're able to gain access without having to be interviewed by an immigration official.
How do smart cards and biometrics technology complement one another when used together?
Biometrics in combinations with smart card is very cool because the smart card provides a portable data file that is cryptographically secure in terms of the information that's stored in the memory of the card. And that can include personally identifiable information that you want to protect from a privacy as well as a security perspective. And that includes the biometric data that could also reside on there. What the card can do is validate that it is a legitimate card, that it has been issued by an appropriate authority, that the data information on the card hasn't been altered or modified, all of that through cryptographic processes in a very secure manner. What the biometric data on the card can do is verify that the person presenting the card for access or for a privilege is in fact the same person that the card was issued to, so they're extremely complementary in that regard.
What is the difference between biometrics match-on system versus match-on card?
In biometric technology, whether it be fingerprint, iris, or vein recognition, whatever the technology, the actual comparison of two samples to determine if a person has a high enough similarity score to be declared a match, that matching function can take place either on a computer system or host computer or in a control panel or a reader device, but it can, and that's called match on system. It can also take place inside the smart card itself because the smart card is a microcontroller computer in and of itself. So the biometric data that resides in the smart card can actually be matched against a live presented sample inside the card. That provides a higher level of assurance because the card can accept that match function because it's known to the card and can then open other card functions and release information of a privacy sensitive nature. So it provides another level of assurance.
Every agent miles of border.
Report warrants of U.S. border
Air traffic boost brings visas making a sieve of U.S. border.
Commerce by
Fake IDs possibly sold to thousands. Biometrics.
U.S. expects 40% rise in visa biometric identification. Border traffic to triple by 2030. Officials bring safety to meet needs. Air traffic security.
looking at what the government believes could be the fingerprint of a suspected terrorist, taken from an undisclosed location overseas. 24 hours a day, government computers...
Laptop. They may have used some other device. We may pick up fingerprints from a bomb freight.
So far, more than 1,300 criminals and illegal immigrants have been caught using bogus identities.
We rely on biometrics, which are unique physical characteristics like fingerprints that are impossible to forge, to keep bad people out of the country while keeping travel fast and convenient for legitimate travel.
Finally from us this evening, technology on the cutting edge. We were interested today to hear that more than 100 law enforcement officials in Mexico are having microchips implanted in their arms. The chips allow a person to be scanned, sort of like a cereal box at the supermarket checkout. In Mexico, this will be one more tool in the fight against crime. Here's ABC's John McKenzie.
You've seen it before, right out of Hollywood.
Maybe a little uncomfortable.
A microchip inside the body. A hidden, high-tech identification tag.
They're the access codes to your drop spot.
Now, Mexico's Attorney General and 160 of his deputies have had microchips implanted in their arms to control access to the country's new Criminal Investigation Center. It is to provide access, said the Attorney General, to the right people in exclusive areas where there is valuable, sensitive information. The microchip, the size of a grain of rice, is injected under the skin and gives off a low-frequency radio wave. A scanner reads each chip's identification number to verify an official's security clearance.
The microchip is tamper-proof, it's secure, no one can take your microchip and use it to their advantage to gain access to your facility.
The chip, developed by Applied Digital Solutions, is similar to those used in the U.S. to identify and return runaway dogs. In humans, it can have several uses.
Little stick.
The chips can also be programmed to carry medical information. The one in this patient details his blood type, allergies, and the fact he has Alzheimer's disease. The device is now awaiting approval from the Food and Drug Administration. Some researchers are developing microchips for use in the home, so that wearing one can turn on lights and open doors. Hands-free. The next step, say researchers, is developing an implantable chip with a global positioning system to track people miles away, whether kidnapped or lost, just as cars can now be traced. A kind of LoJack for the body. John McKenzie, ABC News, New York.
That is our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. We hope you have a good evening. Good night.